Sorry, I didn't really know. I was supposed to pause, like actually press pause. I pressed the red button. Just creating more work for me to edit. Okay, so where do we leave off? Moving forward, had an encounter with God. He showed me that I was going to meet my husband in 2020 before the end of the year. And at that time, nobody was in my life. Okay. Nobody was in my life. 2019 going into the new year, nobody was in my life. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this story is because I am leading this into a marriage series. We talked about identity, right? In the first 2 episodes, I'm getting ready to do a series on marriage. So of course, what better way to introduce that topic than sharing how I met my own husband, right? Right. So we're going to do that. And then I will tell you, and then I'm going to teach you a lot of things that I've learned, a lot of mistakes I've made. So blah, blah, blah. Like, right. This is just the beginning. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional podcaster. This is literally a podcast. So bear with me and my informalism, if that's a word. Okay. We're going to be really informal, whatever. It is like midnight. It's midnight, guys. It's midnight. Okay. So I went into the new year like, okay, let's get it together. Let's lose weight. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to meet my husband any day now, y'all. And then, one thing I will say is before the real thing, there'll be some counterfeits. There may be a couple of counterfeits, but God had already explained to me who my husband was going to be, exactly who he was going to be. Even while I was in high school, middle school, in between middle school and high school. In January 2020, let me just fast forward to COVID, really. COVID probably was one of the best things that happened to me because it wasn't an ungodly isolation for me, but it was just a separation from everything else so that I could focus on God, focus on my school. And really that was just it, like focus on God. Like really the job that I had at that time, I was in collections. I was a collector. I could talk about it now because, that time period is over. I was in collections. I was a collector and I hated that job because I didn't hate it at first, but when COVID hit, I felt bad sending the repo truck out to repossess your car. That was me. Like I was a person that was calling you 3 times a day, 4 times a day to pick up your car. Like pick it up from Walmart, pick it up from wherever you are, pick it up from your friend's house. Yeah, I was skip tracing and searching. So I apologize. Forgive me. Okay. I'm not going to say the company, but oh my God, Casey, get it together. All right. COVID saved my life in a nutshell because it really just opened my eyes, right? It opened my eyes. 2019, I went through a lot, right? And so when my brother invited me to Bible study, shortly after I started going to Bible study, I lost a friend. The quickest way to one of the fastest prayers God loves to answer. Father, if there's anybody in my life right now that should not be in my life, remove them. Give it 24 hours. It wasn't even 24 hours. And like people that I thought were day one, like people that I thought were like, you couldn't tell me in 2026 we would not still be friends at that time, right? So I needed to separate. I needed to be isolated for God to be able to get a hold of me and speak to me because 2019, remember the ending, he just got me back. And now he has to prepare me for marriage, literally in just a year, literally. and with more intensity. Of course, you're being prepared for marriage, like throughout your life as a woman, especially in a Nigerian household, really in a lot of households. But, as an Igbo girl, like you're being prepared for marriage, like learning how to cook, clean, and learning, submission. We'll talk about that, right? How to behave in your husband's house. Okay. So when COVID hit and we were all like locked down and we realized the lockdown was for real, my birthday came around and I gained weight because I was so depressed. I gained so much weight and I was like, man, how am I going to find my husband now? And I think it was May 24th. It was like a week after my birthday. And I decided to dedicate my life to God again, like officially, and I bought a new Bible. And I said, God, I'm going to read my Bible. Now, I was already reading my Bible every day. I was already reading a chapter. I was already praying daily. I was already making time for God, right? But I said, I want to start a new chapter. So I'm going to get a new Bible. I collect Bibles, y'all. I don't have many, but I like collecting different versions. So I got a new Bible. I think that Bible I got was ESV, the ESV version. And I got the big ESV study Bible version. Got it engraved with my name, Kelechi, and, just dedicated it to God. And I told God, like, you have my heart, whatever. So I was, for months and months and months, I would fall off, get back on, but I was consistent for the most part. And I started fasting. This was big. In May 2020, I started fasting. Y'all, not only was I fasting, this is how I lost 75 pounds in 2020 in 6 months, because I was doing keto and I was fasting. So what is it called? OMAD. I was doing keto and I was doing OMAD, 1 meal a day. So I would fast from, what would it be like, 7 p.m. till 6. Actually, no, I think it was like from 6:30 p.m. I would have 1 hour. So I would fast for 23 hours and only eat within 1 hour of that day. And that would be when I clock out of work. So when I clock out of work every day at 5, I would have from 5 to 6 p.m. to eat 1 meal. So I was doing that. I was fasting 1 meal a day, keto, reading my Bible, and praying literally every day. At that time when I was living in my student apartment, my roommate, I'm sure she was a witch. And thank God she moved out on her own, because, baby, warfare prayers at midnight in the midnight hour, it's going to get you gone. It's going to get you gone, right? If you ain't supposed to be there, it's going to be too hot. So she legit moved out. Literally, it didn't even take long. Her and her boyfriend moved out. He wasn't even supposed to be there, right? So getting to the end of the year, remember I told you about the counterfeit? Multiple counterfeits, right? There was just one person that I actually had dated, met him on social media. I was on somebody's live broadcast trying to learn Igbo, just trying to not that I don't know it, but it's not conversational. I can't hold a fluent, complete Igbo conversation without putting English in it. So I wanted to strengthen it. I went on Instagram live and they were speaking Igbo, and I said, okay, let me join. Somebody from there DM me. And then I went through a mentally abusive relationship. Yeah. My God. So much so that I was on a program. I think it was Travis Green's live broadcast one day. And it got to a point where they entered the prophetic, and he was like, there's somebody here that you're in an abusive relationship. It's not physical. You're in a mentally abusive relationship, and God is telling you to leave. You need to leave, and God will give you the strength to leave. And I'm like, these prophets, like, first of all, I'm here for the music, here for the worship. And not that I don't believe in prophecy, but the Holy Spirit really spoke to me and told me that, no, like, he's talking to you. Like, I'm talking to you through him. Moved back to my mom's place because I was waiting for my apartment to be ready to come back to school. And while I was there at my mom's house, the whole time, every single day, I kept hearing the words, break up with me, break up with him, break up with him, break up with him, break up with him, every day, 24 hours. So this individual, I now texted him. I was like, hey, I'm breaking up with you. And this is the craziest thing. He said, I knew it. I had a dream. Where you left me. We were in a house together. Mind you, we didn't live together. We hadn't even met in person yet. Please, Kalichi has made mistakes. We haven't even met in person yet. We were just, and this, first of all, this wasn't even, this is COVID, right? Like, he was in another country. I think he was in Dubai. I was in America. We hadn't even met yet. This was something that was, I don't even think it was 3 months. It wasn't even 3 months old. Like, I met him in June. This was July. Do you get, right? And I remember making a vow to God, like, don't ever let any man waste my time for more than 3 months. Aside from my husband, I have never been in a relationship for more than 3 months. Never. So, broke up with him. He said, yeah, I had a dream. We were in a house and then you just packed your bags, got in your car, left. You didn't say nothing. And I said, okay, well, I'm glad you know. It's over. Like, God told me to break up with you and I'm doing it. And clearly you've received confirmation of the same exact thing. So bye. Now, fast forward to that. My mom and like another, one of her coworkers had tried to set me up with like a family friend of theirs. Like, my mom's coworker had a nephew that she wanted to set me up with. And that was like in October, right? So we met at the very end of October, and that didn't work out either. I don't want to like waste too much time. That didn't work out either. But in the midst of me talking with him, remember the prophecy that God gave me, or the word that God gave me, you'll meet your husband before the end of 2020. So I was like, okay, I thought that person was really going to be it because he was fitting the description of what God showed me. But that was on the outer, nothing on the inner was matching. Our vision did not align. Like, what God has shown me that he wants me to do with my life, the plans I felt like I had, the ambition I felt like I had, and the vision where I saw my life going was not where he was trying to go. Like, it was completely two different directions. So it was December. I was graduating with my master's. I graduated. We had like the ceremony because it was COVID. So we had a ceremony for it, November something. But I officially graduated in December when, finals and everything was over. And I remember, like, I was back in my hometown and I was driving around the city. This guy was sleeping. Was he sleeping? I don't know. I was driving around the city and my phone was very just much silent. I had posted a picture of myself, like, my graduation photos, posted a message to thank God. And I get a DM December 19th. Mind you, man, I got to get my dates right, but it was December 19th. I literally have, I framed it. The DM that changed everything. December 19, 2020. I literally framed it. This was my husband's anniversary gift when he came to America. I haven't hung it up yet. It's gonna get hung up somewhere. But that I got him that gift like 2023, I think. Okay, so we went to see, like, there's this woman of God that, my mom used to go to her church. We went to go visit her to, like, give her a Christmas gift. And so she could see me because I hadn't seen her in a long time. She loves me. Right. So, she literally told me that day, like, hey, you're going to get married, next year, like, you're getting married. Right. Mind you, this is 2020, right? And I was just like, yeah, I claim it. Hallelujah. Praise God, nonchalantly. And I think that had happened a few days before I got the DM from my husband, that I didn't know who was my husband. Now, I was in a relationship, y'all. And I thought that with that marriage, because me and my mom and the lady, we were talking like, okay, this is going to be it. Like, we were literally, I was making plans to get my passport that I had not had since I was like 8 years old. I was planning on getting my passport, planning on finding out how to get a visa. Like, literally, I was planning a trip to Nigeria for April, ending March, beginning April, to go and marry someone else. And then this man, my husband, DMs me. And he just says, hey, Casey, how are you doing? I respond, I'm fine. And you? And the rest is history. For real. But that's how we met. Now, when he DM'd me, first of all, like, that's the good part, right? I blocked him. Not literally, but I just blocked his shot. I told him, I said, no, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm already taken. Like, cause we got to talking, he was trying to get to know me. And I said, hey, look, with all due respect, like, I'm in a relationship with someone and it's getting pretty serious. Like, most of our days I would spend time talking to him about my guy and like the plans I was making, and yeah. But for some reason I couldn't just stop talking to my husband. Right? Like, it was just weird. Like, normally I would have cut him off already, but he was just so easy to talk to. And it was just like innocent, like kind of like friends. And I would just like curiosity. So let's say I ask, my boyfriend a question and I didn't really like the way he answered it, or like, I'm just thinking like, is this how all guys in Nigeria think? And I would ask my husband the same question and he would answer exactly how I would answer. My husband is more business minded. This guy is more, I don't know, like he's more like, I want to be salaried my whole life. So, and I would talk to my husband and just have like peace, have clarity. I would talk to my husband about God. And I would ask him questions about God, about the Bible, and he would answer. And I would ask, and like the way he would answer is different than the way that the guy I'm dating would answer. So all of a sudden I'm just like, why do I even like this guy? Not knowing that my husband was doing a 21-day fast starting January 1st. And that whole fast, my husband ruined my relationship. Well, God did, really. God ruined. And it was, God's will always be done. You pray for God's will, his will be done. It got to a point between January 1st and January 21st or January 22nd where, God told me to ask this man a question about his faith one more time. And before that, this man sent me a video from Apostle Joshua Selman. And in that video, it was like, don't marry the man if he does, unless he has these 5 qualities. And when I listened to that message, this man had not one. Meanwhile, my husband had them all. I'm like, God, what are you saying? The big question I asked was, hey, look, when I come to Nigeria, I hope that you know I'm not coming to sleep with you. Like, I don't want to sleep with you. I don't want to have sex before marriage. And like, I'm really adamant on maintaining that, you know. And he was like, no. And like, in hindsight, I was like, okay, like, that's fine. Like, you could say no. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Like, I will definitely pay for my own hotel room, and you will not be welcome in my hotel room, period. Right? But when I asked the same question, I'm like, hey, look, you know, like, you know, and the thing is, I didn't actually ask my husband this question until we had started dating. But when I actually started dating, after breaking up with that guy, I started dating my actual husband. He didn't have no issues. In fact, he was also going to suggest the same thing. Like, not even a suggestion. It was like mandatory. Like, it's not going to happen, period. Like, he had also done work getting back to God. And so he said, if we're going to get married, we're going to do it right, the right way. So let's backtrack again, right? Between January 1st and January 21st, my husband is fasting on his end. I am losing my mind. My relationship is in chaos, in a huge mess, to the point where we have a huge, I'm talking about big falling out. And I asked this guy a question that I had asked him when we started dating, and he told me he didn't have a problem with it. And then I explained to him the type of church I want to go to, and he now had a big issue with it and was like, well, our family is going to be going to two different churches, you know, like, and I said, you're right. If I do marry you, normally I should be going to my husband's church. So then I'm not going to marry you. I'm going to find somebody who's on the same page as me, because I'm sorry, I cannot do a lukewarm type of church. I like, these are the stipulations I have for my walk with God. I don't play. Like, this is not a game. If you're not willing to, like, I wanted a man. I had that now. I wanted a man who was on fire for God. I wanted a husband who would literally push me to be better, who would literally push me to pray, push me to read my word. Like, and the wave he was on, it was not it. Like, I need a man that prays more than me. That kind of a thing, right? Or at least we're like pushing each other. Where you're weak, I pick up. When I'm weak, you pick up. So even after, like, we tried to have family intervene. I tried to have my cousin in Nigeria reach out to him, talk to him, like, explain where I'm coming from. Like, you should want a wife who's willing to literally be in the war room. If my spiritual life goes down, you don't want that. You know what I mean? So, like, why would you do? And you're not even really going to church right now. You don't even really take God seriously. On Sunday, you're going to a beer parlor to watch soccer, football. You don't even take God seriously. So, like, why would you want to deprive, this is my question, like, why would you want to deprive me of a type of church where I feel like I can grow with God, when I'm more than likely going to be the one praying the most anyway, judging, you know? And I was still willing to work with him. Okay, let's meet in the middle. And so after, you know, he said the words, I'm a grown man, like, not even my mom, like, nobody that you can bring, including my mom, nobody would, like, I answered to nobody. And that was one of the points in Apostle Joshua Selman's sermon about marriage. Like, if this man does not have anybody that can hold him accountable, if he doesn't have anybody that, like, if push come to shove, things get so bad, like, hey, you can call this person and that person will call him to order. If he doesn't have nobody that he listens to, nobody that can talk to him, you should not be marrying that person. And that right there, like, confirmation, like, God was confirming it. So to cut that short, right? It's not going to be short, y'all, but like I said, it's going to be in parts. So, God, So we ended up breaking up. I broke up with him not even a week after I broke up with this guy. And like, this wasn't really on him because I had already made the mistake of even like sending money to him, just as a gift. Really, he didn't really ask me for anything. It was just me doing it out of the kindness of my own heart. He didn't ask me. But this time he had asked me for like money to like help him send his siblings to school. And I said, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. That's why there was one, my eyes had already been open, but even if my eyes were not open, I still would not have done it. Okay. So after I broke up with this guy, I think I don't know the exact dates, y'all, but it was at the very ending of January, that last week of January. Before that, like, woman of God in my life, Mommy Esther, I was on phone call with my spiritual mother and spiritual father, Pastor Kolawole, Mommy Esther, and they didn't have peace that I was talking to that other guy, but they didn't tell me. What they said was, before the end of January, let God confirm like if this is the one for you. And he did that and showed me he wasn't. So really, my husband had just finished his fast, and the day after they finished the 21-day fast, here I come DMing him, hey, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I just want to let you know that I broke up with that other guy. This is exactly the news that my husband wanted to receive. But you know what he said? He said, oh, like, he was like, oh, why? And I said, because me and my husband had already talked about it. I had already like asked him the question. I had already explained, because we got into a fight, and I told him, I said, this is the reason why. Why was I telling him all these things? I don't know, but I feel like it was just the will of God, because I needed someone at that time, because I was not involved in my family. I was not involved in my friends. I needed somebody at that time to like remind me that I'm not crazy. And so like the things I desire, what I wanted, it wasn't crazy to want that. Okay. So, anywho, lost my train of thought. My husband was like, okay, well, what if he changes his mind? Like, if he changes his mind and he says, okay, he's willing to, the way that you have a vision for your family and the type of church you guys want to go to, what if he says he's okay with that? Like, would you take him back? And I said, no, it's one and done. I told God, I'm not wasting more than 3 months with anybody. So if this person was meant to be in my life, I would not have broken up with him. I already received my confirmation. And so then like a couple of days after that, my husband now shot his shot. I don't think it was a couple days. I think it was like the next day he shot his shot. And, right. So he said, like, it was so quick. Like, this is so funny. Remember, my husband DM'd me December 19th, 2020. We are now January, like 22nd, 23rd ish, 24th. And then I broke it up with the other guy, and me and my husband actually are now, my husband literally just tells me, I'm in love with you. And I was like, wait, hold on. No. I was like, how are you in love with me? And you don't even know me. Like, y'all move too fast. I'm Nigerian. You're Nigerian. But Igbo men, like, it's hello. Then the next thing is, will you marry me? Like, it's just 0 to 100. There's no in between. So he was like, I'm in love with you. Like, I think now is a good time to let you know that I'm in love with you. And sometimes, y'all, man, I go back and I read our messages, like, on Messenger. I lost so many of our messages on WhatsApp, but I go back and I read our messages on Messenger. It's literally a love story. Like, it's so, first of all, I was mean to my husband, so I apologize. I wasn't mean, but I was trying to be faithful to somebody else, and I told him, I was like, babe, like, wouldn't you want me to respond to you to anybody that tries to talk to me that way? if I'm in a relationship with you, like, you should want me to be faithful the way I was to him. You should want me to be faithful to you. Like, I am a faithful person. I'm loyal. Like, it's going to be that same energy with the person that I am with. Right. So he was like, yeah, but I was blocking every shot, because he would ask me a question like, like, what are you doing for Christmas? Like, let's say you were in town, like, well, we would hang out. And I said, no, we wouldn't, because I have a boyfriend. It's like stuff like that. Like, no, we wouldn't. My husband asked me, like, what type of businesses, do you think would like do well in Nigeria? And I said, well, anything related to women, like makeup, stuff like that, women love, anything that's like, as long as women exist, if you do anything that remotely can attract them, you're in business, right? But you got to know what you're doing. And there's other things too, but my knowledge at the time, right? And he was like, yeah, let's go into business together. No, I have a boyfriend. Let me ask my boyfriend and see if we can go. Like, I was treating that other guy like he was my husband. So he finally shot his shot. He told me I'm in love with you. And I said, listen, you may be in love with me, but I'm not in love with you. And this is like, I'm not making a mistake. You just witnessed what I went through in the previous situationship. Okay. And that wasn't even the only one. Like, prior to that, I was in something that was mentally abusive. So now I'm going to need you to talk to my spiritual mother and spiritual father. And if they say yes, only if they say yes, only if they give me the green light, then I can accept to date you or court you, right? Court with you.